For more, I'm joined by Benjamin Neuman. He is professor and chair of biological sciences at Texas A&M University. Thanks so much for being with us. Okay, if this is the conclusion of that investigation, I mean, are you left now with kind of more questions than answers?
I think as a scientist, we're left in about the same position we were in almost March. We know that there are very similar viruses out there in bats in particular. We now know in the intervening time, though, that the virus seems to be able to grow to a reasonable extent in many different kinds of cats, including some big cats. Pangolins, definitely, and mink have been a recent and somewhat surprising addition. But none of these is fully linked to that original case, and they're not really sure exactly where the original case was. They knew that the virus really started to spread once it hit Wuhan, but it's very difficult because of the way the virus is made. The substance inside the virus is called RNA. And whereas we know that DNA can live for a long time, you can even find fossils of it, RNA is very temporary. It tends to break down relatively quickly in a matter of hours. So reconstructing this basically means going back and finding some kind of animal that's alive now that has a close enough relative of the virus and would have been in the right vicinity to be able to transmit this to a human. It's the old detectives adage, you got to have means, motive, and opportunity.
Yeah.
And all are a little shaky at the moment.
Right. The problem with, identifying, I guess, the animal that they think they're looking at, I mean, the one thing we kind of thought we knew was that this virus somehow originated in Wuhan. Now it feels like, I mean, it could have come from anywhere in the country or even the world. I mean, needle in a haystack sounds easy compared to what they might actually be looking for.
And there are some interesting papers that have come out in the last year that actually speak to this. So there was a very nice one out of Vietnam that showed that particular kinds of farmed animals lived in the same sort of places as bats. And the farmed animals would pick up some of these bat coronaviruses, different from the SARS coronavirus, ones we've never seen in humans. And then as you moved up the food chain toward the restaurant, one animal would infect a different species that happened to be in containment with it. And just through the animal trade and the fact that all these animals were together and alive in the markets and in the food transport chain meant that there was opportunity for the virus to jump in really unexpected ways.
Right.
So, yeah, there's probably half the world that could have this virus and a lot of animals that need to be swabbed and tested.
Absolutely. And I mean, all the suspicion that was around that the wet market originally, okay, maybe it didn't originate from that wet market, but they are quite controversial and somewhat dangerous when it comes to viruses, and they've all been reopened. Does that worry you?
Yes, and at least anecdotally, you can still get civet in a fair few of these and pangolin in a fair few of these. Yeah, they are. They have the potential for the spread of viruses like this. And I think the worrying thing is that there isn't a good way to tell exactly what viruses there are in food in general. The few things that we would sort of normally eat tend to be fairly safe, but yeah, as you branch out, there are some risks that come with that, and they're sort of invisible risks that we're just learning about now.
Yeah. A final question for you. I mean, there was so much suspicion, I mean, even conspiracy theories around the option that it could have potentially been created in a lab or escaped from a lab. Do you think that's an option at this point in any way?
I haven't thought that was a realistic option at any point, and the WHO appears to agree with me now, and that's nice. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Benjamin Neuman, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.